Welcome back, everyone. Lancescurv here. I wanted to talk about something today that many of us go through, but few of us anticipate, and even fewer understand how to get through it. I've seen this happen with myself. I've seen it happen with other people close to me, and it's something that we need to put in the back of our minds so it doesn't happen to us. And really, what is that? Losing yourself after a breakup and the hidden dangers of overgiving. I've seen it happen again and again. A person enters a relationship feeling grounded, curious, and very much alive. They have their own rhythm, their own interests, and a sense of direction. They are not finished or complete, because none of us ever are, but they're becoming more of themselves with each step forward in life. Then the relationship deepens, and slowly something shifts. Without noticing, that person begins to bend. Their time, attention, and energy move away from their inner self and toward the needs, tastes, and goals of the other person. It does not feel dangerous at first. It feels like real love. When the relationship ends, the pain feels unbearable. It's not only the loss of the other person, it's the loss of self. Depression settles in. Motivation disappears. And the question arises quietly but painfully, who am I now? What makes this even harder is that the other person often seems fine. They move on quickly, almost untouched. This contrast creates confusion and self-blame. It feels like something was taken, something vital that was never returned. This is not weakness. It is what happens when identity is traded for attachment. When one person gives deeply while the other receives without giving themselves back, the giver is left feeling like half a person, trying to survive with only fragments of who they once were. Many people give themselves away in relationships without realizing it. They merge missions, habits, beliefs, and even personalities. Their likes become shared likes, then replaced likes. Their voice becomes quieter while the other voice becomes louder. Over time, their inner compass stops working. One of the most dangerous myths we are taught is the idea that two people become one. It sounds romantic, but it is deeply flawed, and I've always thought this. If two people become one, then each person becomes half. Where did the other half go? Love should expand who you are, not divide you into pieces. The danger signs often show up early. You stop doing the things that once brought you joy. You delay personal goals because they do not fit the relationship. You filter your thoughts before speaking. You feel guilty for wanting time alone. You measure your worth by how needed you are. These signs are quiet, but they're serious. Another danger appears when you begin to eat from someone else's plate and forget your own. Like returning to a restaurant you loved for years and suddenly not knowing what to order. Your preferences fade. You choose what the other person likes, where they want to go, and how they want to live. Your identity becomes borrowed. When the relationship ends, the shock feels like death. Not because love ended, but because the self that was carried inside the relationship was never protected. The grief is real, the sadness is heavy, and the emptiness is loud. Healing begins when you understand that you did not lose your value. You misplaced your attention. Recovery is about returning it to yourself, piece by piece, without shame. This is how restoration happens. Grief must be allowed its full expression. When a relationship ends, the instinct is often to rush forward, to distract, or to replace what was lost. That rush delays healing. Sitting with the sadness, the confusion, and the emotional quiet allows the nervous system to reset and the truth to surface. Grief is not a trap. It is a passage back to clarity. Returning to familiar routines is another powerful act of recovery. Even if those routines feel distant or awkward at first, they create structure and stability. Old habits remind you of who you were before your identity became intertwined with someone else. Consistency rebuilds confidence. Solitude plays a critical role in restoring the self. Time alone is not loneliness when it is intentional. It becomes a space where you can hear your own thoughts again, feel your own emotions without influence, and reconnect with your inner rhythm. Solitude is where self-trust is rebuilt. Speaking your truth out loud is essential, even if no one else is listening. When identity has become suppressed, the voice weakens. Naming your experiences, your regrets, and your hopes strengthen that voice again. Expression is how the inner self remembers it exists. Reintroducing hobbies is not about distraction, it is about recognition. Activities you once loved carry emotional memory. They reconnect you to a version of yourself that existed independently. Over time, those activities stop feeling foreign and start feeling like home. Healthy boundaries protect emotional energy. After losing yourself, it becomes clear how easily access was given. Learning where you end and where others begin restores balance. Boundaries are not walls. They are definition that keeps the self intact. Personal growth must be pursued for its own sake. Reading, learning, creating, and reflecting without tying those efforts to another person rebuilds autonomy. Growth that belongs only to you strengthens identity from the inside out. Discomfort is unavoidable during healing. The urge to escape it often leads people back into familiar patterns that cause the loss of self. Learning to sit with discomfort builds resilience and prevents repetition. Strength grows where avoidance once lived. Love must be redefined after loss. Partnership is not self-erasure. It is two whole people choosing to walk together without abandoning themselves. When this truth is understood, future relationships become healthier and more balanced. Recommitting to your personal mission brings everything together. Purpose anchors identity. Even if that mission has evolved, honoring it restores momentum. When you live in alignment with your purpose, you stop disappearing for the sake of connection. Maintaining yourself inside a relationship requires awareness. You must protect your interests, your friendships, your creative outlets, and your inner dialogue. Love should walk beside you, not stand in front of you and block your view. When you stay connected to yourself, relationships become healthier. You give from abundance instead of depletion. You share without disappearing. And if a relationship ends, you grieve the loss without losing your foundation. You were never meant to vanish in order to be loved. Love that costs you your identity is not love. It is exchange without balance. Real connection allows two whole people to walk together, not collapse into one another. If you feel broken after a breakup, understand this clearly. You are not less. You are recovering what you gave away. The sadness you feel is not weakness. It is a signal calling you back home to yourself. Every piece of you that feels missing can be restored. Not all at once, but steadily, with patience, with honesty, with compassion for who you were when you gave too much. Your mission matters. Your preferences matter. Your inner voice matters. The world needs you whole, not divided, not diluted, and not forgotten. This is not the end of your story. It is a moment you remember who you are and choose to never abandon yourself again. This is the best way I can explain it. 3 people over the last 2 weeks requested that I speak on breakups. And I didn't want to do it in the same way most others do. I wanted to speak it in a way where you see the signs, the warning signs coming. And if you're in it, you can identify it no matter how emotionally attached you are. And even afterward, to heal back. Because I think the process of healing can go through a lot faster if we can identify exactly what happened. It's like, unfortunately, when you approach an accident scene and you see the mangled metal of cars and fiberglass these days, and you say, man, how did this happen? You see one car from the other side of the road that jumped the divider and ran into 2 other cars, and one's upside down and one is here and there. And it's like, wait a second, how do I put this together? How did this go wrong? So if we can speak about that as it's happening, before it's happening, after it's happening, we can have a better sense of closure and not be afraid of love, not be afraid to move forward in that. See, there are a lot of bitter men and women out here. That's a fact. And you might get angry by me saying this if you do happen to be bitter, because just earlier we spoke about bitterness. But when you can identify what it is and see it in yourself and how it went wrong and truly heal, you won't be afraid to love again. But do not jump into something as a pacifier because you're in pain and you're hurting, because that's how we create another disaster. What do they call it? The rebound effect, where we grab for anyone. And the person may be intelligent, the person may look good, the person may have a nice personality, but it's nothing that you were attracted to before. It's only because you want to avoid going through the fire that you must go through to reclaim. And it's not really fire. It feels that way at first, because when you go through a breakup, you just want to lay down. You just want to cut the lights out. You want to close the blinds and the curtains, and you want to cease to exist. And you have an inclination to want to replay the painful moments, however that breakup happened. Whether you discovered the person was with somebody else, whether they told you that they wanted to break up, or whichever ways. There's so many ways people break up. I can't go down the whole list. But the feeling is the same when you're on the receiving end. Or even if it's a mutual thing and you still have questions, especially if you thought it was going good. But how good can it go if you've given up yourself? And it's not being selfish. The very thing that attracted that other person that you were in the relationship with to you was the fact that you were you. And I'm not saying it's your fault because you broke up or if they initiated it, but one thing, it would be harder for them to break up with you if you were 100% yourself in most situations, because we have people that they want to play the field, they want to have their cake and eat it too. We understand that. But the main thing, you could never go wrong by being 100% of yourself. You wouldn't miss a beat. And in different situations outside of relationships, this still holds true. Like, for example, if you have a hobby or something that you do that brings you joy on a creative level, on a soul level, on a purpose level, you never stop doing that. You always continue to do what brings you joy. The world may not understand it, whether it be writing or drawing or singing, whatever it may be. It aligns you with yourself, and it makes you know that, hey, I'm here, I'm 100%, this is what I want to do, this is for me. And I tell you, when you do stuff like that, you can go on living longer because you're satisfying yourself. Yes, we do have responsibilities, we do have children, we do have a spouse, we do have a job, we have elderly people in our family who need care. We understand all of those things, but you have to have a modicum of yourself, something of your own that's in your pocket that you can do, that you enjoy. And the practices, I wrote an article many years ago. When was the last time that you took yourself out on a date? And I think if you search it here, I put it up here on Lancescurv X. And it's basically the same concept. And this has nothing to do with breakups, but it supplements and protects you from the pain of that breakup when you thought you lost yourself. Because if you regularly take yourself out on a date and do what you want to do, and this is something that I've done for many years, even before realizing it. I remember from maybe around 15 years old that growing up in New York City, I would hop on the train on the weekend. And of course, we didn't have pagers. We didn't have cell phones, smartphones back then. We didn't have internet. So at that age, I would still tell my parents and friends exactly where I was going and what I intended to do, even though it was a free-flowing thing. And I had many friends. There's many things I could have done. But if that particular day I wasn't in the gym working out, I would go into Manhattan, have a little money in my pocket, which really it wasn't about the money, but I kept it in my pocket. It wasn't about spending. It was about exploring. I would go to bookstores, music shops. I would see things in the park, different concerts. I would visit different bodybuilding gyms and look at the equipment and see if I ever wanted to train there or get a workout. And usually the owner would say, hey, get a good workout, get a workout and see how you like this place. It was a different world back then, but even if I came up at this particular time at that age, hopefully I would still keep connected to myself. And this is why I look at the younger folks today, and I'm not throwing off on them. All I'm saying is that they have a lot more distractions to pull themselves away from themselves, even without being in a relationship. The self-doubt that's created by social media. Say you're going through that adolescent phase when you're developing and you're comparing yourself to adults and you're comparing yourself to other people your age, and there's a healthy sense of insecurity. We all have the insecurity, especially at that time. Thank God that my participation in bodybuilding at those formative years had me a little more confident within myself, more so than other people my age, especially other young men. See, it didn't take it away where I didn't have any insecurities at all, but it minimized it. And this is why it's important to get your youngsters into something that they can enjoy and eventually get good in for themselves. It buffers you against having those openings that allow another person to come in and rob you of your identity even before you had it. But like I was saying, social media now puts these youngsters on blast because everything looks perfect to them. And they see the filters, they see the pictures, they see the perfect lighting. You can remove a pimple or zits, change your complexion, slim down, muscle up more, and put this to the world. And lots of times, that's the way that a lot of our youngsters deal with insecurity, putting up a false image of themselves. It's so easy now to play pretend. And the bad part about it is, it's not even just our children and our youngsters. It's folks that are grown. I'm talking about till senior years. So many people are playing the game. And of course, that has nothing to do with breakups, but it's the same thing, because it's another way that we lose ourselves. So we can lose ourselves in a relationship, break up and feel this pain and feel a loss of self and connectedness. But if you're on social media and putting out false images and really believing that this is you, you've lost yourself without the relationship. And then when you get involved with somebody, and this is for all ages, they're getting into that image of what you put up. Now, you may not look exactly like the pictures you put up, and they say, okay, you pretty much still look like that. But what you put out there as far as your words and having wisdom and being mature, and they see that you're acting the opposite, that you're moody, that you're not mature in your outlook, and those things that attracted them to you don't exist, well, it's just a matter of time. So the bottom line also in not losing yourself is to develop a self that it's hard to lose. Develop yourself. Know who you are. Know what you like. Know what you don't like, and put up those boundaries, and don't tolerate breaking those boundaries or crossing those lines because of another person, because you think, if I don't break this within myself, if I don't break my personal covenant of a boundary, I might lose this person. Well, lose them. Because so you're saying to yourself that I'm going to give up myself just to be with this person. And that's where the deadly slippery slope begins. I see it happening lots of times. And many people caught up in the euphoria. The emotionalism. We have to remain a certain way. We can't get into a relationship and be cold. But the emotionalism sometimes after certain traumatic situations also, right? I spoke about the rebound effect. You grab for somebody or somebody who's there, and you're basically using them as a teddy bear to hug on to, and you develop a relationship with them because you don't want to break that cycle. But also be careful with yourself. And I've seen this happen. You have the loss of a loved one. And it really takes it away from you, because to be honest, we have different levels of this. You may have a distant classmate that you shared a class in high school, but you don't really know them, and you find out that they passed away, and it stings a little bit, but you didn't really know them. You don't have the super close relationship. It's not that you don't care, but it's like, wow, I feel sorry for their family and my condolences. But then you have somebody in your inner circle, somebody who is not only in your family, but they're in your blood family, and they mean something to you. They're close to you. Because all family is not family. Some of your biggest haters and some of your biggest detractors can be people who share the same DNA. But when you have that family member who is close to you, which should be your mother or father, but sometimes it doesn't happen. It could be just a sibling, a brother or sister, and you lose them, and you have these memories, and you feel so empty. It's easy to reach out to that lifeline. You feel like you're drowning in despair. So it's easy to reach out when somebody throws a rope out to you and you're drowning in this ocean of sadness. And you can get caught up in something easily then. Even when you have your hobbies and you have your life and you know who you are, you get blindsided by this situation that happened of loss. And so you can get attached that way because you're wide open now. You know, it's like when you're in a car accident. I've been in several car accidents that didn't hurt me. But when you get blindsided, when you get hit in an unexpected way, when you get thrust into a situation where there's panic and there's fear and there's uncertainty, you now just roll with it. But even after it's over and you're sitting there in shock and you're trying to take in what happened, it's easy emotionally for another person, even if they're not doing this on purpose, right? But oftentimes now, the sharks are out there, and you have to understand that aspect of it. That when you go through a breakup, let's just throw some other things in there that are peripheral that still relate to this. When you go through a loss, say for example, you're a woman and you have a husband, and suddenly and unexpectedly, he passes away. And even if this person, your husband, has a terminal illness, and you are expecting, you don't want it to happen, but you're fighting hard to keep him alive, but it's inevitable. You have people lining up on the sidelines, the shark-infested waters. That's a whole other topic, but I'll just mention it here. The shark-infested waters of your life. You have a nice home that's paid for. Let's make this extreme to paint the scenario. You might be in your late 40s, early 50s. You have a home that's paid for. You and your husband worked hard and you got to that point. You have 2 cars that are paid for, late models, 1 luxury, right? You have an insurance policy that's coming through that everybody pretty much knows that you have, because you both were known to plan, have your stuff in order, keep to a budget, and progressive over the years. So don't you think that there are men out there who don't even love you, but now you go through the loss of your husband, and now these men, in the name of friendship, they can be even in your inner circle, even friends of your husband, and they start coming around as being concerned because they were close with your husband, and those hugs that they give you last a little too long. The way they press themselves on you in the name of love and concern does seem to be a little bit inappropriate. What are they getting at? They know you're vulnerable. They know that you're open. You're not looking for that, but you're open. You're scattered emotionally, and they want to slip on in. You see how this works? Or it could be people who are opportunistic now. It could be a girlfriend of yours that wants to get in on your resources now because she pretty much knows it, because you are both close and you speak about it. So be very careful, not when you're just trying to reclaim your life, but when you're trying to navigate reclaiming your life and you have forces around you that are trying so hard to take a piece of you before you heal up all the way. Those were just a few points, and I want to go deep in on human nature, but I was asked to speak about this in different ways. But I said, let me just bring everything under one umbrella and talk about these different points. And that's just shooting from the hip. I woke up and I said, hey, we're going to tackle this today. So anyway, I hope you get something out of these little discussions. There's so much on social media that's trash, and it's not for me to say that it's trash, but very stimulating, lots of graphics, celebrity gossip, all these different things, and everybody has the right to choose what they want. But then when something hits you hard in life, is all of that going to soothe you? Sure, it can be an escape, but I like to just sit down sometimes and speak with people that I know close, and we speak about these things, because it's like having a fire extinguisher in your kitchen. It may have a little dust on it because you never had to use it, but when you're by that stove and that oil catches fire and the flames go up or something burns, you know that's the first thing that you want to grab for. So these little discussions are like having a fire extinguisher in the kitchen. Hopefully you don't have to use it, but it's nice to have certain knowledge and wisdom in your mind and in your heart so that when things happen, you can go on automatic because you spoke about it, talked about it, and absorbed it. Anyway, much love to you all. I love these talks. I love the feedback. Drop your comments and let me know what you want to speak about, and I'll get down. No matter what it is, I will talk about it. I promise that. On to the next one. Lancescurv out. Peace.